Welcome back to Ash's Reality Recaps. This is the Curse of Oak Island Speed Cap Season 11, Episode 23, Cone E Island. Now, I think they spend more time coming up with the names for these episodes than they do actually trying to find treasure on Oak Island. But I digress. This was actually a pretty interesting episode if you enjoy everything that happened off of the island. So as far as the island was concerned, Lot 5, the archaeologists dug down a little further in Lot 5. They've reached the substrate at the bottom where they found some pottery, some half bowls, some objects like that, which again is just reconfirming that there's something there. Just don't really sure what it is or where it came from, but there was a foundation there for a dwelling, and somehow it's connected to the money pit because they found the blue clay that they found inside of the money pit back in the 60s when it was excavated. Over in the money pit area, they're still drilling holes. There's really not much more I can say about the money pit area. They're still drilling holes. They're not finding anything. Supposedly, when they did the muon testing, they found a large block of metal somewhere down in the ground. Well, they drilled straight into that spot and they found nothing. So kind of a miss there, but they're still trying to find that over there, randomly drilling holes at this point. Every time they drill a hole, somebody says, all the evidence is pointing to here. There's like 1,000 holes at this point that they've drilled over there, and I think every hole that they've drilled, they've said, all the evidence points here. So not really going to touch on that anymore. The best part of this episode, and what really makes it intriguing, is that, remember, the majority of the team have gone over to Europe. They've gone over there. They've tried to find the connection between the Templars and the Vikings. And one thing that they have managed to do 100% is confirm what we already knew, and that's that the Vikings were in Nova Scotia, North America, the New World at some point in the past. The crossbow bolt, what they thought was a crossbow bolt that they found, they showed it to a Viking specialist, and she confirmed that there's a good chance it is from the Viking area, but that doesn't tie it to the Templars, which are really, really trying to do. Everything that they showed, all the way down to the stone that was originally supposedly found in the money pit, was tied to the Vikings as far as some of the symbols that are on there. Again, directly tied it to some of the symbols they found on the stones over in the Nordic area. So, the Norse area. So, basically, their journey to Europe has confirmed that the Vikings were in Nova Scotia. No surprise there. They did stretch pretty far on one of the items they found over there. They found a cross that looks like the Templar cross near some, Viking archaeological finds, and basically said, oh, maybe they helped each other. Still a pretty big shot there, but at the end of the day, this episode had some digging on Lot 5, some digging in the money pit area, and a confirmation that the Vikings came to the New World and carved some symbols into some of the rocks over here. Oh, and last, before I forget, what you see up here, up on the side here, this is a boulder that represents one of those points on the Tree of Life from a couple episodes ago. And that scientist said that if you move this boulder, there will be treasure underneath this. So they brought this crane team in, they strapped this boulder up, they lifted it into the air. Now they have all of this digging equipment on the island, right? Right. They have all this digging equipment on the island. So they lifted this boulder up, and what do? They climb down into this hole of water, they reach their hands down, and they pull up some muck, and they say, this will tell us how old this is. Now, you have all this digging equipment on the island, like, excavate this a little bit. This goes back to what I said last time. Excavate this a little bit. You supposedly believe that something's under here. The owner of the property has given you permission to pull up this boulder. I'm sure he's okay if you do a little bit of digging down there, but instead you pull up a handful of mud that has a rock that you speculate is concrete, which ends up being nothing but a rock. And the scientist runs it through some magnification and sees a hair sticking out of it. Not any specific hair, just a hair. We don't know if it's a human hair or a deer hair or a rat hair. It's just a hair sticking out of a chunk of mud and rock. And the speculation is, oh, how did this hair get in this rock? Well, for one thing, we have no idea what hair it is or how long that rock has been there or underneath that boulder or anything along the line. So here comes another wave of speculation on this hair that's in this rock that, in my opinion, doesn't really represent anything on the island. It just needed to fill up some space at the end of the episode to make us go, oh, how'd I get a hair on a rock? But anyhow, that is your Curse of Oak Island recap. Season 11, Episode 23, Cone E Island. Again, the part where they're actually out of the country over in Europe and they're seeing all these Viking connections to the New World is pretty cool because it does, again, 100% confirm that the Vikings were in the New World. It does not attach the Templars to that journey, but they do a pretty good job of stretching that narrative to kind of fit the Templars into the story. So, see you next week.